I'm going to play you just a quick video clip of the piece of shit talking about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Listen to this. Let me pull it up. Okay, go.
Like people that are shooters, I'm not so much of a shooter, but people that were shooters say it's almost impossible that that was a miss. I mean, it was a hit, but it was a miss. Although I do get that throbbing feeling every once in a while.
Is that right?
Says, yeah, a little bit.
Okay, does anyone believe that at all? Of course, I could be talking about two different things there. Does anyone believe the narrative of what happened on that day? That's number one. But number two, specifically about this, and I'll circle back to number one in a second. But what he said here, he still gets that throbbing feeling in his ear once in a while. Does anyone believe that for even half a second? First of all, the man obviously has miraculous power to heal, because no one else is able to regenerate ear cartilage in the way that this man did. He was apparently shot and a chunk taken out of his ear. That's what they tell us, at least. But you've seen the close-up pictures. There's no sign of an injury. No chunk taken out. Nothing. He just completely regenerated ear cartilage. Now, even putting that aside, at worst, taking their story and believing it completely as true, he at worst got a little scratch on his ear that drew a little bit of blood, right? Almost a year ago. If you got yourself a little scratch with a few trickles of blood, would you be feeling a throbbing feeling almost a year later? Of course you wouldn't. It's a friggin' lie. But as to the broader narrative, you know, any questioning of what happened there has been shut down. You're not allowed to ask any questions. If you do, then you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm sorry, but asking questions is the only logical thing to do when nothing they're telling us makes any sense. You've seen the footage. He supposedly is shot. And within mere moments of that, he is being stood up by Secret Service on stage in front of everyone there, including any other potential shooters who might have been there, right? There could have been other shooters. There's no possible way for them to have known that the scene was secure and that he was in no further danger. It's impossible. So instead of protecting him, and you have seen what the Secret Service does in other assassination attempts in the past, it doesn't look anything like what we saw in Butler, Pennsylvania. They stood him up, fully exposed, so he can do that friggin' fight crap. The most perfectly framed picture you could ever imagine from that scene was used by him and made a central part of his campaign. And he's apparently made millions of dollars off of that image ever since. Does anyone believe that a protective detail of the Secret Service, just moments after their protectee had been shot, would stand him up on stage to stand there like this and then stop when he says, oh, I need to get my shoe. Let me get my shoe. Oh, okay, yeah, take your time. Get your shoe. Are you freaking kidding me? And we're not allowed to ask any questions? He makes all these claims about the injury to his ear. We haven't seen any medical records. Oh, and by the way, you know that guy who is most prominently seen in that picture? That was the head of his security detail. You know, you would think that the head of his security detail that stood him up in full view of any potential assassins who might have been there, that man would have been fired immediately. What happened to him? Donald Trump made him the director of the Secret Service. That guy who stood his protectee up on stage in full view of any other potential shooters was made director of the Secret Service. Does any of that make any sense? I'm not claiming that I know what happened on that day. And maybe it's exactly as they say. But none of it makes any sense, and they've never answered any questions, provided any information. We've never seen the medical records, nothing. And the media just lets it go. Here's what I also know as a fact. That at that time, when that happened, Donald Trump was running for president. And he had everything to lose if he lost that race. Donald Trump was either going to be reelected as president, or he was almost certainly going to prison. That was his situation. Those were the two possible outcomes for him. Prison or the White House. Now, we saw what he was willing to do in 2020 when he lost an election. We saw what he was willing to do to hold on to power. And at that time, he was facing no criminal indictments. What would a man like that be willing to do if he was so desperate that he was in a position where if he lost the election, he was going to prison? What would he be willing to do? And the media asks no questions. Maybe it is as they have been telling us. If so, then why don't they release all the information and answer all the questions? That's a pretty good question in and of itself, now isn't it? Now I'm going to show you two quick video clips. One is of a real attempted assassination of a president. The other is what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Ronald Reagan was 2 months into his presidency when John Hinckley Jr. drew a $29 handgun outside the Washington Hilton Hotel on March 30th, 1981. He wounded the president, Brady, a secret.
See the difference?